It's been over 3 decades since the Toronto Blue Jays have been in the World Series. But here we are, and the Jays are going to the Fall Classic. And with them are the World Series reigning champions, the LA Dodgers, with probably the best baseball player in the world, Shohei Ohtani. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra, and welcome to a special Blue Jays World Series edition of Burning Questions. And with me is a Toronto Sun sports columnist who's been covering this for pitch by pitch, inning by inning, Rob Longley, joining us from the very place where the first pitch is anticipated on a Friday night. Rob, it's been a long journey for the Blue Jays. Let's do a quick recap. It's a team that went from last to first, but here they are in the Fall Classic.
Yeah, Adrian, so many ways to chronicle the journey, right? 32 years since they've been in the World Series. As you mentioned, last place last season in what was truly a miserable campaign, 74 wins, complete bounce back, 20 wins more this year, win the American League East, win the American League playoffs here in the World Series. As you can see behind me, everything is ready. One more sleep. I think this, as we know, the city's abuzz, the whole country is abuzz. But it's a fascinating story in how they got here. It's not just the players that they brought in; it's the type of players that they brought in, and it's the way the guys that sort of the unheralded guys, the bottom of the order guys, the guys who have played in the minor leagues most of their careers, have contributed to this success. And I think that's one of the things that makes them so incredibly exciting and so incredibly lovable. I think that's why Canada is really embracing this team. As you mentioned to me off air, we can see it. The viewers our readers are embracing it. The television ratings are huge. This place has been sold out essentially since August 1st. It's real momentum, and it's a fascinating story, and it's going to be a wild ride over the next 7 or 8 or 9 days.
There have been some controversial decisions that were made by the management staff of the Toronto Blue Jays throughout the course of the ALDS and the ALCS. Let's talk a little bit about that, how if those factors are no longer at play once the World Series starts.
It'll be interesting. I mean, in this day and age in baseball, we often see managers trying to outsmart themselves almost, it feels like, and certainly outsmart the opposition. I think the Blue Jays are getting a little bit more reasonable in that regard. Sure, they've done a few things. There's been a couple of games where you could certainly question when manager John Schneider took out his starting pitcher. But for the most part, the moves that they've made have worked to success. I mean, and now it's going to be really under the spotlight, not just because of the global attention to this game, but the fact that you're playing, as you mentioned, Adrian, the World Series champion Dodgers, the biggest money team in all of baseball, a team that is 9-1 in the postseason so far, a team that has 4 starting pitchers that almost seem impossible to hit. So a real challenge for the Blue Jays, but to their credit, they've responded to just about every challenge they faced this season, and it'll be, to me, fascinating to see how manager John Schneider and the players handle the challenge of facing Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, let's look forward to what we can expect. We know, of course, that the LA Dodgers have a very deep bullpen, and the star of their show, the star of baseball, of course, being Shohei Ohtani, who arguably single-handedly won Game 4 for the Dodgers when they swept the Milwaukee Brewers to win the NLCS. Rob, Shohei is he's going to be one of the pitchers, expected to be one of the pitchers in one of the later games. They've got Snell starting Game 1. They've got Yamamoto starting Game 2. And on the other side of it, our bats are hot. The Blue Jays are hitting up a storm. But the the LA Dodgers pitchers, they grind the batters down. A lot of strikeouts. How are the Blue Jays, even though with hot bats, how are we going to manage that?
I think they're just going to have to stick to the approach that's got them to this point, Adrian. They've managed to hit good pitching throughout the season. And I think a lot of it comes to that approach that I spoke about. They've got a new pitching coach this year, a guy by the name of David Popkins, and he's really instilled some confidence in these players and changed their mindset about at bats. He's got them at times to lean into power. We've seen this team hit more home runs than they did last season. He's taught them to be patient when that's what it requires. Just overall, he's instilled a new mindset in the approach, and I think when you have a lineup like that, that's important. It's just every man sort of contributing. They use the expression in baseball a lot: move the line around. So whether it's a single, a walk, a bunt, a double, a Vlad Guerrero Jr. home run. Get those guys moving around the bases in whatever way you can. And for the most part, that's been successful for them. They certainly won't be lacking in confidence going into this series. I don't think they're going to be overwhelmed by the stage either, even though it is going to be something like they've never seen before. We're here today. It's a workout day and a media day, and there's upwards of 150 Japanese media here. It's going to be crazy when the Blue Jays face all of this media. But they haven't been phased by anything yet, and I don't expect that they will be in the World Series either. It just comes down to, are they good enough? Are they good enough to battle that pitching that you spoke of, Adrienne, and to battle Showtime, Shohei Ohtani, the biggest global star in all of sports right now?
There is some elements, of course, for the Blue Jays. Rob, we were missing Bo Bichette through the season from a knee injury. There's an expectation that he's going to be ready for the World Series, and tangentially to that, George Springer has stepped up as the DH. And after Game 7 against the Mariners, Springer is the star. And so, how is that going to work out in the lineup?
It's going to be interesting. We don't know for sure, Adrian, that whether Bo Bichette is going to be back in the lineup. We may get an indication of that here in about an hour when we speak with manager John Schneider. My sense is that yes, he will be. He's improved significantly over the past week in terms of his ability to put pressure on that left leg and that left knee that he hurt back in early September. And the way I see it is, if you can have Bo Bichette at 60 to 70%, with the possibility of getting stronger as the World Series goes along, there's no way that you leave him out of the lineup. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that he can play shortstop? I don't think so. He's been taking some reps here at second base. That's a possibility. Most likely it would be a DH and possibly a pinch hitter off of the bench. Which brings us around to your point, though, Adrian. If he is the DH, what do you do with George Springer? Because he has thrived in that role. I mean, I think it's worked out well for him. He's a very competent fielder, but he's been an important bat to this team, partly because he's been able to preserve himself. He's 36 years old. His body's been through a lot even in these playoffs, as we know from Game 6 against the Mariners when he took a 96-mile-an-hour ball off the knee. So if you bring Bo Bichette back in as DH, then you've got to move George Springer out to right field. I think George would be up for the task. He plays through a lot. He's a really driven dude, and it's the World Series. You play through pain. It's kind of like the Stanley Cup Final. Guys play through pain.
That's right. It's and they're not here very often.
No.
If that's the case, then what happens to our other emerging star, Barger, who has been done an amazing job in the outfield? He's got a rocket of an arm, and he's been hitting up a storm, getting those incremental gains for the Jays. What happens to Barger?
It'll be interesting to see what happens with him. It's a difficult decision for management and for the manager, but it's a decision that they love to have because it's options and I'm certain that he will be on the roster. It's just a matter of where he slots in, depending on the other decisions. Now, the beauty of Addison Barger and many of the other players on this team is that they've been willingly accepting all the different roles that have been assigned to them this year and thrived on it. So if that means coming off the bench in the fifth inning because John Schneider likes a matchup with that particular pitcher, they will do that, and the player will willingly accept it. And to me, that's one of the things that makes this team so good. There really is, and it sounds like such a cliche, Adrian, but I've been around a lot of sports teams in my career, but there really is a genuine all for one for all attitude with this team. And we've seen it pay off throughout the regular season, and we've seen it play off through the postseason so far.
And I think part of that was, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. A lot of expectations put upon him. There hadn't been a lot of success in early on in the season, but suddenly we've seen a Vladdy that everyone expected, and he's really stepped up as a leader on the team. We see the success with his bat, no question about that. And I think that's made a big difference, Rob. And it gives a momentum for the team.
For sure. Adrian, everybody in sports loves their superstars, right? It doesn't matter what sport
Right.
it is. And Shohei Ohtani is the brightest of them all. But it isn't really that far behind him that Vlad Guerrero Jr. is. He's got a reputation and an appreciation well beyond Toronto and well beyond Canada. People around baseball kind of love this guy. They love his pedigree. Of course, his father was a Hall of Famer. They love what he can do. He's won home run derbies. He's been an all-star 5 times in his career. He's just a guy that all of baseball and all of the sporting world appreciates. And now he comes into the playoffs and he's hit 6 home runs already. He's the superstar that everybody anticipated him to be, that he always hasn't always been consistently, but he's doing it on the brightest stage, the biggest stage. And if he were to have a big World Series like he did in both the ALCS and the ALDS, he would cement himself as one of the greatest postseason performers of all time in one postseason anyway, and would likely be the World Series MVP.
Okay, we have to talk about Shohei Ohtani. Brings the show to Toronto. All of that fanfare. There are over 50 Japanese media that follow him from end to end and country to country, state, and it's quite a show. But Shohei Ohtani's contribution to the game, shall we say, has been, regardless of he's on the opposing team, on the Dodgers. What he has done for baseball, the eyeballs that are watching, the excitement around it, it's hard to, pass that up, Rob.
It is, and I think maybe the best way to describe it would be that he transcends the game. He is a
That's right.
global superstar. He's a global celebrity.
Yeah.
I mean, his dog Decoy is as famous as many players in the game, it seems. But yeah, like in the time that we've been talking here, I've seen probably 50 Japanese media walk by us, and I underestimated when I told you originally. I think it's going to be upwards of 200 people. I mean, they hang on every word. They hang on to every word and every action that Shohei Ohtani does back in Japan. And baseball's huge there, as you know. And it's just going to be fascinating just to see the scene. I think the scene is going to be really cool. Whether we get the
Hmm.
opportunity to see what he does in the city, I'm sure there'll be a lot of security around him. But just the whole media sensation around him, and then what he does in the ball game, like you said earlier, in his last game, all he did was hit 3 home runs, including one completely out of Dodger Stadium, and struck out
Yeah,
10 as a pitcher, something
incredible.
that's never been done before. I hate recency bias, but so many people after that game said it was the greatest game ever played by a baseball player. And I don't know how you could possibly dispute that.
And Toronto came oh so
Oh,
close, Rob, to signing Shohei Ohtani, but we couldn't quite finish the deal. Well, first pitch is Friday night out at Rogers Center. The Fall Classic starts. Go Jays, go. Go to the TorontoSun.com. You'll find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.